Welcome to our exciting webinar, Alternative Careers for Your Doctoral Degree. And I am Walden University Career Services Advisor, Nicole, and I will be your moderator today. And for those of you not familiar with career services, we would like to introduce you to our team. We have myself, Nicole Skelski, bottom left, and Senior Director Lisa Cook, who will be helping us to field questions today. And our mission, Walden Career Services aspires to be a cutting-edge global career center, preparing our learners to navigate career transition over a lifetime. And to achieve this vision, we educate, coach, and advise our learners to proactively manage their careers. And now I would like to introduce our guest panelists. We are very happy to have Dr. Andrea Davis with us as a guest panelist to share her successful career experiences utilizing her recently completed Ph.D. in public health, working in the private sector. Dr. Davis earned both her MS in public health and Ph.D. from Walden, actually this year, 2014, so a big congratulations to her. And she has over 10 years of combined experience in clinical research, drug safety within the pharmaceutical industry. She has a very strong passion for improving the health of our communities, both locally and globally. And then we have Dr. Teresa Rose, who also completed her master's degree, her MBA with Walden, and PhD this year, 2014. So both of our guest panelists completed their doctoral degrees with Walden and their master's degree with Walden, and both finished this year. So we definitely have amazing panelists today. Her PhD is in learning management. Dr. Rose has worked her way up into leadership positions in the nonprofit sector and has experience in the areas of HR analytics, millennial generational constructs in employment, and inductive and deductive reasoning processes in research. Dr. Rose has served as a guest panelist on a number of our webinars, and we appreciate her joining us today to talk about her career success utilizing her doctoral degree in the area of nonprofit leadership. In addition, we will also be sharing 2 other career stories from a Walden School of Management alum, Dr. Wanda Corner, and current Walden PhD Human Services student, Sharice Shavel, both of whom were not able to join us today, but we will be sharing their stories. And so before we launch into the topic, we'd like to get feedback from you as to what types of alternative careers you are considering for your doctoral degree. And we'll go ahead and launch a poll. So again, if you could choose the answer that best corresponds to you, the question is, what alternative careers are you considering or career for your doctoral degree? Is it consulting, working with the federal government, nonprofits or NGOs, international development, and we already have the answers coming in, private sector, or possibly non-academic research or publishing? Now, of course, this is not a comprehensive list, but they are some of the topics that we'll be covering today with our guest panelists. So we'll give it a few more seconds. And it does look like a lot of you are considering consulting. Okay, great, and we have a wide variety. We'll go ahead and close the poll and share it with you. So it looks like almost 40% are considering consulting, almost 20% federal government, 15% nonprofits or international development, and 19% in the private sector, and then 8% non-academic publishing and research. Great, so we will be covering most of these popular topics today with our presenters. And with that, let's look at our topics. So today we're going to discuss the benefits of careers beyond academia, explore various career options outside of academia, and of course share these alternative career success stories. So what are some of the benefits of a career outside of academia? And again, this is not a comprehensive list, and you might have some of your own. Of course, you have acquired knowledge and expertise that is valued by a particular industry. You're following your scholar practitioner path, which a lot of our guest panelists will come across as they're sharing their experiences with us today. And also the possibility of a better salary and benefits. As we all know, the reality in higher ed right now, there are a lot of adjunct positions, but not full-time. So the benefits can be reduced, so there are a lot of other possibilities out there. Maybe you have an idea, a passion, your Walden mission with social change that you would like to implement, or a business idea, or maybe higher ed or even teaching or classroom teaching is just not the right fit for you. And also, based on your dissertation or your passion for research, there are many areas beyond academia in which you can either collaborate or conduct your own research in other areas. So those are some of the benefits of outside of academia. And now today we will discuss most of these career possibilities or career options for graduates with doctorate degrees. And again, this is by no means a comprehensive list, but a great place to start. And we've put together a lot of resources on where to follow up for each of these areas and where to get started and where to conduct more research. As the competition, again, for higher ed positions increases and the availability for full-time higher ed teaching positions with benefits decreases, we are offering this webinar to increase awareness of the amazing variety of meaningful employment options currently available. And again, we have two guest panelists on the webinar live today, both Walden doctoral degree alums, to share their career experiences in two of these areas, and where I am also going to share a career success story of Ph.D. management Walden alumnus working as a consultant, and a current Walden doctoral student who is pursuing her degree in human services and has founded her own nonprofit organization. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our first Walden alumnus, Dr. Davis, to talk about her career in the private sector. Hello, Dr. Davis.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I'm going to start out, Dr. Davis. So what prompted you to pursue your doctoral degree in public health, and why public health?
Well, basically, I was searching for a great online school that had the perfect public health program for me because when I started with Walden, I was in the field of banking, and I wanted to find an online program that was flexible, one that didn't interfere with any job that I had, and one that allowed me to take classes at night, and also that would not interfere with my family as well, because I do have a husband and a 4-year-old. So that's why, you know, I chose Walden. Ultimately, the flexibility. I like the program structure, and in the field of public health, the doctoral program, you know, and even with the master's program, my classes were quarterly, so it was like every 12 weeks. And so I really enjoyed the benefits of being able to do my work, my school work, you know, at night. And so that I could still work in different areas and also pursue my passion, which is public health.
Right, and can you tell us a little bit about your passion, how you got involved in public health? So why the doctoral degree in the area of public health specifically? Is there a personal, you know, reason that happened, or what's your passion? Because I see you're a big advocate and volunteer in your community as well around health issues.
Oh, yes, definitely. My mother, Yolanda Williams, had an endeavor with heart disease when I was 15 years old, and she was 42. And so because of my family background and coming in contact, direct contact with immediate family about heart disease, that really inspired me to want to pursue the avenue of public health. And so I basically, found it from family and also from my volunteer work with American Heart Association, who I love and I enjoy, the volunteer aspect of it, because it also opened up a lot of opportunities in public health. And and petitioning for great causes in the community in the Triangle area. And so ultimately, it was a collection of things that brought me to the field. But I'm really passionate about public health and helping the community in different areas. So that's what inspired me ultimately, all three things.
Great. So it looks like you most recently worked as a drug safety case management consultant. And so can you tell us a little bit about that? I see it's a global pharmaceutical company, and how your doctoral degree has added value to you as a professional, both as a drug safety case manager and in the pharma industry.
Oh, yes. Drug safety, as a drug safety case manager at Drug Safety Alliance in Durham, North Carolina, my professional career path, Walden opened doors tremendously. I mean, the staff at Drug Safety Alliance and other places like Duke Clinical Research, where I worked as well, they both recognize Walden. And actually, Drug Safety Alliance even asked me and notated that I was, working on my Ph.D. in public health at Walden University, because they really knew about the school and they thought it was a great achievement. And, I completed the Ph.D. This May, and so Drug Safety Alliance, definitely put me out there, but they were so happy, and they really thought a lot about my ambition, and also they loved how I got to where I was, and they really knew about Walden University, and they thought it was perfect and a great way to grow within the pharma and public health industry.
Great. So now we're going to talk about some of your accomplishments as the drug safety case manager. So can you just go through a little bit and share about these bullet points, kind of what you did?
Yes. I was given the task of reviewing and processing over 400 drug safety cases daily with a 98% success rate. And these were a collection of forms given from doctors, and some were financial, a lot of them were medical, and various therapeutic industries. And these were reviewing patient information to get processed for the FDA eventually, once it went through the channelings of the other reviewers. But in my task directly, these were post-marketed drugs that are already on the shelf, and looking at the patients and how the drugs affected patients' lives. And so that was is a very interesting field, the pharmaceutical industry, and it's growing rapidly every day.
Oh, great.
And, yes. And these other things on here, other things that I also accomplished as well.
Fantastic. So I know, where are you now in your career path and going forward? I know you have some other goals and you're maybe in transition right now. So can you share with us how your degree is helping you with your upcoming career goals?
Oh, yes. Having the backing and the great experiences and the Ph.D. from Walden University stands out. It really stands out. People know about Walden, and, just having the Ph.D. when I have interviewed with several pharmaceutical companies in the Triangle area, and what stands out mainly so far over the management staffs in different places, they really are happy and are like, wow, you have a Ph.D. from Walden University. I mean, and then, you know, when I let them know, hey, I got my Master's of Science degree from Walden as well, they love to hear the impact of it, but they ultimately think it's phenomenal. And they really, you know,
they're really impressed with your degree from Walden. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a difference. Walden is different in a great way.
Great for our audience to hear, so they can hear that you are going to interviews, you're in top companies in the research triangle, you know, you're landing these positions, and you're not in academia. This is in the private sector, and Walden is well known. So thank you for sharing that so much. And now, anything you want to add for advice for students making a transition, you know, from their degree, maybe they're in another field, into the private sector? We have a couple bullet points here. I know you're really big on networking.
Oh, yes, I'm definitely big on networking. First, I would say to everyone, you know, follow your passion, follow your dreams. You know, you only have a certain number of years in this life, and so you need to follow your passion. Also, I would also say make sure you contact the Walden Career Service Center for guidance. They have wonderful resources within the program, and so, you know, they can help you, you know, with your resume as well. Also, be sure to volunteer in your field, no matter what field it is. Volunteering can lead to a position. It may. And it also, because the reason I say that is because you don't know who in the industry may know someone where you're trying to get to career-wise. And also be sure to update your LinkedIn page, and also keep in contact with recruiters that contact you because they get jobs, you know, day in, day out. And they may remember you and they may call you, but also, you know, reach out to recruiters as well and keep a list. Keep a list of all the positions that you apply for and all the contacts because it can definitely make a difference.
That is fantastic advice. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis, for sharing. And so I added some resources here. Thank you. And maybe the two that I would probably like you to go over is maybe the biospace, because here in Career Services we're not so familiar with that. And I added the one that you recommended for ResCares, which offers training. And then, of course, the public health associations and job boards that people can, you know, we have a wealth of resources on this webinar that we want people to take advantage of. So maybe you could go over those two, and that would be fantastic.
Okay, yes. Biospace is a great pharmaceutical and clinical driven resource. Everyone, you know, if you're looking to get into the field of public health, whether it's public health, clinical research, or the pharmaceutical industry, be sure to sign up for that. It's free, it's no cost, and it only takes maybe about 20 minutes to fill out everything. But be sure to do that one because recruiters will reach out to you for that. Also, the rescare.com. Check into your local employment security office. They will be able to sign you up for that, and you get a year's worth of free training. They also have computer training. You know, if you want to brush up your skills, they have Cisco certification. They have Oracle, SQL, and they have things in management as well and healthcare. So you may want to check that out with your local, you know, employment security office. And ZipRecruiter is great as well. It's another resource that I stumbled on, and they have like the salaries for the jobs on there, what type of position, the industries, the backgrounds. Also tells you, you know, feedback from people that are working there as well, so you can get like a picture of the whole company. So, you know, in steps. So be sure to check out ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor.com as well. And these other ones in the field of public health, American Public Health Association is a great one as well. They list jobs on there as well. And so check out all of these, and you know, again, be sure to build up your training while you're in transition, because you know, they will be looking a lot of the times in the field at what databases that you know, what technical skills do you have in addition to your academic success. So be sure to do all three, and you should be able to achieve your dreams.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. We're going to take a brief pause to see if anybody has any questions for you before we go on to our next panelist.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, Nicole. Actually, we do have a question for Dr. Davis. And the question
Great.
is, how does a background in banking transfer to public health? Was this transition a challenge in any way? If so, how did you overcome that challenge?
Okay, well, when I was in the field of banking, I was actually a teller at the State Employees Credit Union. And so while I was there 7 years, I decided to transition into public health after I found Walden. And so basically what I did, because in the banking industry I had set hours like 8:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday. So basically what I did, I took 2 non-credit courses with a local community college in the area, medical terminology, and I built up my skills that way and did that for 3 days, 3 evenings from like 6 to 10. Got the medical terminology, and then I volunteered. Oh no, actually, I'm sorry. Well, I was volunteering with American Heart, but I also worked in research as an interviewer on the side. So on the weekends, I would, you know, I was transitioning into research in public health as well. So I would, you know, interview people with a company called RTI, which is the Research Triangle Institute in the Triangle area. And so I would do that part-time while I was in banking, and I was working on my master's. So you know, there are ways to get around it. Even if you're in one career that you don't see yourself in, you know, forever or retiring in, you can still reach out to other avenues by volunteering, you know, working on courses, and also, you know, just pursuing your dreams. I would just say just pursue your dreams, because even though I had to, you know, sit in one area, I was still able to maneuver around. So it can be, and it can be done.
Fantastic.
Great. We have some more questions, but I think let's go ahead to Dr. Rose now, and we'll field those other questions after she has a chance to speak. Okay?
Sure. Thank you, Lisa.
Great. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to, before we go on to Dr. Rose, we're going to quickly talk about consulting. And then we're going to go on to Dr. Rose for nonprofits. So consulting, I know a lot of you in the poll had, we have a large interest of doctoral students looking to provide advice and expertise in their field. And that's exactly what a consultant does. And we're going to talk about Dr. Wanda Corner today as well. So as a consultant, you provide advice and support around a range of strategic and operational challenges. You have the opportunity to use and expand upon your knowledge base. And potential clients could include, I mean, beyond individuals, but governments, corporations, and nonprofit organizations. So what I'm going to share with you is Dr. Wanda Corner. She's also been on several webinars with us, and she graduated from the College of Management in 2013. And her specialization is leadership and organizational change. She's really been an advocate of minority and female small businesses for the last 13 years, and in Columbus, Ohio, she was an advisor for the Small Business Administration through the government. And then she does now have her own consulting business called Corner of Success, Inc. And she shared with us why she wanted to pursue her doctoral degree and some of her accomplishments since she completed her degree just last year. So this was to enhance her knowledge and credentials as both a scholar and a practitioner. And she is also, on the scholar part, she is in academia as well, although the focus of this webinar is on the consulting side. So she is doing both, and she says it has greatly enhanced, you know, her CV as far as being competitive for consulting business and in academia. And of course, as a subject matter expert on leadership and organizational change. And some of the recent accomplishments that she shared with me that we're really, you know, impressed with, again, it really keeps her relevant and up to date and competitive. And she was able to translate her academic and industry-based research into meaningful content for her clients. And the allows for selectivity piece, she's referring to her client base. So she can be more selective now because she has strong credentials and a strong background with her Walden degree as far as picking and choosing the clientele that she would like to work with. And then this translates into, her degree translates into high quality, high level consulting and training projects. And a couple of those specific accomplishments that I really want to share with everyone is she was able to secure a leadership training engagement with 2 federal agencies starting in the first quarter of 2015. And she's also co-authored a research article to be published in the fall of 2015. And that research article is directly related to her subject from her dissertation. So, you know, we are really impressed with Wanda, and we're really grateful that she was able to share this with us. She was not able to be live. And then we've also put together some consulting resources that will help you, our audience, to get started. There are many, many professional organizations to get involved in. And also she shared a few websites as well. And there are a few more following: consulting publications, Consultants News, magazine, and again, no need to write it down because this will be archived on our website and with all of the resources. And with that, we are now going to transition to Dr. Rose, our second Walden guest panelist today. And she's going to talk about her work in the nonprofit sector and how her doctoral degree has helped. And we are going to hand it over to Dr. Rose.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Rose. So, can you tell me a little bit about your career background and what inspired you to pursue your doctoral degree?
Well, I think it's amazing that Andrea also started out in banking, and that's where I started out. I was a teller for a very short time and then moved into the administration area about a little under a year after that. And then moving into HR training, I was the administrative assistant for a while, and then I decided if they were going to pay for my education, I was going to take advantage of it. And I took advantage of it and outgrew the bank. So I moved on from that into the nonprofit sector. I was an executive director of a local literacy coalition, and I've also worked at our local YMCA. And why a doctoral degree? I have a very interesting story, and I bet many of you out there have the same story. I have this inner voice, and call it what you want. Many of the philosophers, great philosophers of the past, will talk about that inner voice, and that tells you what direction to go. And I have that inner voice, and it called to me many, many times and kept me focused and kept me directed in the right direction of my goal and my passion. So that's why I chose to go on, because I knew that in order to become the best writer I could possibly be, I needed to be able to write that dissertation. And so being captivated by learning as I am, and I love learning, and I consider myself a doctor of learning. And so that's one of the backgrounds that I have, is that inner voice, and then also just that career area of wanting to do something good for someone else.
Fantastic. And I think a lot of our doctoral students, whether alums or current students, can totally relate to all three of those things. And us too, even the inner voice, captivated by learning, being a lifelong learner, and improving our writing skills, because we use those constantly. Great. So now can you tell us about the nonprofit sector, like you're in a leadership position at the Y, and a little bit about those positions you held and what you're doing with your writing now?
One of the things that I used my PhD for as I went into both the nonprofit areas, I think when you have a nonprofit situation, it's very easy to become lax in business practices. Oh, we can do this and we can get around this. And when I went into the operations area, I looked at that and I said, this doesn't look quite right and this doesn't follow it quite right. You're not following the things I learned at Walden, so let's make some changes and let's get compliant. And those were the areas that I took charge of having a PhD in the nonprofit area. What I'm doing now is, as most of you I need to pay for this wonderful education that I have. So I'm writing a novel. I'm in the process of chapter after chapter, and I figure if Deborah Mulcomer can do it, I can do it too, and I can pay back that loan that I've taken out for my education.
There you go. I really wanted you to share that because I love it. Okay, now we're going to talk about your professional and personal growth. You guys have such moving stories. So please talk about a little bit about your career progression and share how your degree, again, has, I know you've shared a lot already, has helped you to grow within your organization and maybe in your current leadership role, because I know you're HR director at the Y, and kind of how your degree has helped you there.
One of the basic things that I came in as the HR director for the Y, they were a little, how do I want to say, loose on the kind of the return on investment for positions. And so we took a look at the whole background of dollar per square foot and how we deal with people, how many people we have to have as lifeguards on. We just did a whole analytical background on what was happening and came forward with a new budget for the areas that we needed to, each department, and kind of slimmed them down. Instead of everybody kind of doing their own thing, we were able to drive it into one unit of making it happen, instead of everybody just out there, well, we're going to do this week and we're going to make this program. Yeah, we pulled it together and made them have one goal and one direction.
Great. That is fantastic. And finally, well, I notice here you highlight some skills that you gained from your doctoral degree, and I really wanted to highlight that for our audience, because then on the next slide we're going to show how those translate. So you gain self-confidence as a writer, as an educator, and statistical analyst. So on the next slide, I mentioned how those can translate into positions outside of academia. And these are positions you highlighted, such as a management consultant, a writer for a medical or scientific, or in the area of entertainment, or a financial analyst. And then we are really just, Lisa and I were really impressed in where we were surprised with this, your dream job. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure can. I'm probably like half of you out there. I was not very good at math in my high school years. And it took the time until I became an adult learner to understand mathematical concepts. And I love NASCAR. But I'm thinking, if I really love NASCAR, what could I do that I could take my skills into NASCAR? What could I do? And so I thought about it. When you're an engineer in NASCAR, you take wind speed, you take car speed, you take position on the track, and you can run a meta-analysis of all that stuff and tell the driver exactly at the point he needs to be on the track. And I thought, wouldn't that be great to be a part of a NASCAR team that wins, like, I don't know, Jeff Gordon, Hey, I would love that, and all because of statistical analysis. I love it. Go numbers.
That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. It's just a whole other way to view statistics, right? Okay, and then finally, Terry, you shared a lot of great resources, and I kept your comprehensive list because I love it, and it's a variety. So can you, share how you use some of these resources that you're recommending and why they're important to you.
Number one, when I was in 7th grade, I remember my grammar teacher saying to me, she said, if you want to be a good writer, read good writing. And so from that time on, I've just gathered resources as I have grown to enhance my knowledge of writing. But the second thing I use all these resources for is for networking. And I have a bunch of different ones. As you can see, it goes from tech and learning, art news, travel. When you're talking and networking, you have all these resources, and you can talk to people. Wherever you go, you can talk to people. You can give them your 3-minute elevator speech after you've talked to them. Hey, I saw this article in the New York Times, blah, 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 blah. So I do that just to be current and to be focused on what I'm doing. Let's see. Oh, I know, this was really important. Sorry, I got so excited.
That's okay.
Got about reading and learning, I got excited. One of the things that people, and all through the Walden program, they tell you, join a society, join a group, join an organization. And so I thought to myself, in my area, I thought, oh man, I mean, there's a couple of places I can join, Kiwanis, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, I'll join the Society for Human Resources. That's what my gear is. I'll go there. First time I walk in there, gang, let me tell you what I saw. A whole table of HR directors from universities all across the area. And guess where I sat? I sat down at that table and started talking to them. So now I have a relationship. Eventually I want to go into academia and full-time. And so I have a relationship with our local HR people from the local universities. You never know what you're going to find. Get out there. Get onto a society.
Right.
or
Fantastic advice. Thank you, Terry. That was phenomenal. Thank you so much. I'm sure you're going to get lots of questions.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. So we're going to go on to Sharice, who she is currently in progress with her Ph.D. in Human Services, and she also was not able to be live today. She's actually facilitating a training, but she shared with us her phenomenal story, her career story as a founder of her own nonprofit organization. And as a founder, I actually, let's see, her nonprofit is dedicated to the U.S. offender population, and she provides services to reintegrate them into society. And so I highlighted here her career background and why a pursuit of her Ph.D. And this is, you know, direct quotes from her language. It's rooted in her personal experience of growing up in poverty, and education for her was the pathway out of poverty. And her goal was to go on and finish her doctoral degree, start this nonprofit, which she has been working on since 2011, Care to Inspire, Inc. And she wanted to empower others in the same way that she was empowered by education. So it's very moving, her story, the founder of her own nonprofit, and really just going with her passion of the Walden social change. And so her career areas are certainly human services, criminal justice, corrections, and of course starting her own nonprofit management and leadership. And so I did want to focus a little bit on her nonprofit. She's a founder leader. This is the name of it. Again, to the purpose serving at-risk adults. She provides services to formerly incarcerated adults to help them with reintegration efforts into society. And these are some of the services her nonprofit offers. And she most recently expanded to even service learning opportunities for her clients to serve in the community, which is really amazing. And I love her career advice, or just advice in general for other Walden doctoral students or graduates. And she literally put these words in all caps: be courageous, be confident, be different, and be daring. Use your passion and mission to go beyond the traditional way of doing things. And she really emphasized going beyond the tradition of higher education, academia, do something different, find your voice and your path, and leave your fingerprint of creativity, change, and hope. And these are direct words from Sharice. And she also gave some recommendations of some books and some publications that you all can all tap into and additional resources that she likes to. And finally, we're just going to quickly touch upon U.S. government as another option and international development, and then we will open it up for questions. So the U.S. government, I noticed some of you in the poll mentioned that you were looking to use your doctoral degree. And with its very broad mission and over 100 agencies, there are many opportunities with the federal government, 1.7 million jobs in 400 occupational specialties. And they are definitely seeking candidates with specialized knowledge. And also they really emphasize in the source that I found in this article, foreign language and cultural skills, which a lot of our students do have. And where to look for these jobs, we put 2 pages worth of resources here. And what's interesting on the next slide here are these are the top agencies hiring individuals with doctoral degrees. So you might want to tap into those as well. And then finally, international development and NGOs. This is a way to possibly work abroad and improve the welfare of communities at the global level. And there are a variety of projects, whether they're short-term or long-term, and of course, again, very strong on the social change mission. And some of the project areas are phenomenal that we'll see on the next slide, from humanitarian aid, like right now what they're working on in West Africa, gender equality, healthcare, infrastructure, small business development, so all types of areas for Walden students to get involved. And I did put together as well a comprehensive resource of where to look for these positions. And finally, I also did a quick search on LinkedIn groups. So for those of you who are on LinkedIn groups, there's a few very large groups of alternative careers for doctoral students, so right fitting in the topic of today's webinar. And now we still have plenty of time to open it up for questions.
Okay, a question for either of our panelists. What tips do you have for time management while you're pursuing your Ph.D.? Terry, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure.
Dr. Rose?
I certainly can. Organization. I cannot stress to you how important it is to be organized. Get your articles in a little container, get them alphabetized. It's, you'll save yourself time and money. So organization is the key.
Excellent.
And I would say as well, in addition to adding to Terry, be sure to get a journal, a notebook. Jot down, things that you must get done as a priority. Prioritize your day, prioritize your time, and write it down in the journal and review it. Sometimes, you may forget from day to day. You may get busy and things may interfere, but get a journal, write it down, prioritize what's the most important, and then categorize the rest.
Great. Thank you. And I had 2 individuals ask similar questions about narrowing your focus down. How do you narrow that focus down, for example, for your dissertation when you just have so many areas of interest and so many things, so many topics look so great?
Yeah, that was a tough question. I love to learn, and so I picked up every article there could possibly be. Aircraft engineering. I mean, I've read it all, but I think you have to pick a topic that's current for your, your what do I want to say? For your passion, I guess you want to say, and that's mine was a progression. I started out with soft skills. I'm a learning management person, teaching soft skills. That was great. And it rolled and morphed and grew as I found the gap in the literature. And that's when I really found my dissertation topic, was when I found that gap and I put it together with my passion. So that's my advice.
And my advice to add would be, follow what you're passionate about. because ultimately you're going to be writing and writing and writing. So try to find, you know, try to look through the literature as well, but you may want to think about the areas of your interest, of your direct interest, along with, you know, what you're doing in a career path, and if you're volunteering, and even if you're not volunteering, you know, try to find, you know, topics that you're passionate about, and you eventually will be able to narrow it down. It may take a while, but, you know, try to look for your passion. That's what I would say. I mean, and your background. You may be able to pull something out within your background as well.
Here's one point about your passion, though, and I think this is Dr. Ahmad Akil. He would tell us this. Ladies and gentlemen, passion sometimes only lasts for a night or a couple of weeks. So be sure that you really want to commit to this. This is like marriage. You want to commit to it. Passions, I sat in a huge room, my first Walden residency, and a woman stood up in the question time and she said, I've been working on this for 4 years and I decided I'm not passionate about it. And I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry for her and I wanted to cry for the room, because here's this, you know, you've taken all this work and you've worked on it and now you don't want to do it. So be sure passion's good, but you also have to know, you know, you're going to get committed to it, okay?
Excellent, and that lends itself perfectly into segueing into my next question, and I'm going to combine two attendees' questions into one. So with regards to being an administrative assistant, that had to be a very hard stage to overcome to transition into other opportunities, and that's like half the questions, how did you do that? And then another student asked, what were the stumbling blocks that you encountered and how did you mitigate them as you made your career transition?
From being an administrative assistant to, as a woman, also that was a struggle, and I had to put myself out there and use what I learned daily. When projects would come down the pike and I would be administrating, I would make suggestions, or I would add input, or I would come to the side and talk to the leader and say, hey, you know, this is what I'm learning this week. And that just propelled me, and people would say, oh, have you seen Terry's project? I did a project in banking regarding customer service, and they let me do that as an administrative assistant because they knew, you know, I was working on it, I was researching it, so I just really put myself out there. You just got to step in and say, hey, you know, we were talking about this week about how managers need to be transparent in you know, takeovers and things like that. So just put yourself out there with your knowledge, and it will come back to you.
Excellent, thank you. Boy, the questions are just rolling in. Any advice for finding a supervisor or mentor apart from researching faculty and going to residencies? What was the deciding factor for you?
The deciding factor, please repeat that question.
Okay. How did you find the right faculty, supervisor, or mentor apart from researching faculty and going to residencies? How did you locate that person, and what decided the decision for you in terms of who you chose to be your faculty, mentor, or supervisor?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. I actually looked through various faculties that were active on the list because the academic advisors helped me find the list. And so basically I narrowed it down. I really wanted to get someone in my field already, and so I did choose my chair, Dr. Priscilla Beelan, and she, you know, has a background in public health, and also works for the National Cancer Institute. And so I was searching for a I wanted a chair in public health. You know, we do have an opportunity to choose different ones, but I wanted someone that was working in the field and it was you know, a very inspiration. So she's a great chair, and, you know, I'm so thankful that she agreed.
Lisa, I went about it a different way. And my way was, hey, I got to know you my first go around. But the other way that I did it was networking. I wanted a chair who fit me, who understood my personality, because I knew this was going to be a rough process, and it certainly was. I had to have back surgery in the middle of all this. And so
Wow.
I hunted and networked and talked with people. Every time I went to a residency, I just networked my heart out because I wanted to find that person, and I did find that person, and I tell you, he has made the difference in my life that I can't even begin to tell you. So, you know, maybe my personality, but the list, I really didn't look at the list until it came time to do a committee member because I needed a mentor and I needed a chair who I knew I could trust, and that was how I came across my chair and mentor.
Excellent, thank you. There's a question that I'm going to just take a quick shot at. Any career advice for older graduates? I think a lot of the advice that has been provided today applies to students of all ages. But I would say that as someone who's been in the workforce quite a long time, I think you would want to stress, you know, the maturity that you bring, the diversity of perspectives, the experience, and you really want to stress transferable skills and looking at various opportunities, and especially if you're a career changer. We did a webinar previously on midlife career management or job search, midlife job search strategy. So you might want to take a look at that. So would either of you want to add any advice to what I just provided?
I love it when I can take my wisdom. I always think of myself, I have gray hair, so I can take my wisdom into a situation, and that's how I look at it. I don't think it is a deficit. I think of it as my knowledge, my expertise, all can be played in there and be to my advantage over someone young.
Excellent. Okay, terrific. Thank you. And we keep getting the same question, so I'm just going to say, will this webinar be archived and where? Yes, it will be archived on the Career Services Center website, and the slides will be available. Generally, we archive all of our webinars within a few days. Our Career Center site is careercenter.waldenu.edu, and just click on the button that says Archive Webinars. Do any of you teach? Well, I know the answer to that one, so Dr. Rose, would you like to take that one?
Sure, I do teach. I'm an adjunct professor at a small university here in our area. And of course, you know, being a doctor of learning, I love it. I love being online. I've been an online student for my entire career. But that's an awesome opportunity to be able to share with other students that have been online or just starting out online. And let me tell you a little story about how I got that. I applied for another position with this university, and I just kept talking about, they'd ask me these questions, and I'd relate my Walden experiences, my life experiences, and you know, I sent them, they turned me down for that position, which was fine, but I kept after the HR person, and I would send her articles, and I would scope their job sites, and I would just connect with them. I volunteered there before I was hired at that university. So when a position came open that I could fit into, they called me because right away my name came up. Oh, hey, Terry Rose has this business degree. I think we need to look at her. And they hired me because my face was in front of them constantly. I was talking to them. I was sending them articles. I was communicating with them.
Excellent.
And I also worked for a taught for an online school, Phoenix, University of Phoenix, and you know, it was a population health course, and you know, my experience was wonderful as well. The way that the program was designed, they have different mentorships that you have to pass, and so once I got past all of those that were required, it was really phenomenal and great to see 25 students. You know, this was my first class, you know, and it was just wonderful. I mean, just to be able to go from being at Walden and then, you know, from the master's program, and then being able to teach and actually, you know, help students that were on, you know, online as well. So that was great. It was a great opportunity, a great experience.
Excellent. Thank you. I think we're just about out of time, so I'm going to hand it back to Nicole to wrap it up. Thank you all very much.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to our panelists. This is great. Okay, so this webinar actually will be our final webinar of our doctoral webinar series of 2014. So we'll have a total of 6 webinars here that definitely all of you on the call will definitely want to tap into, and I put the web link right on here. So we have CV webinars, strategies for getting published, a couple webinars on getting into higher ed, and of course building your CV. And Walden Career Services, I mean, tap into us as a resource. You can connect with us numerous ways. We are on social media, and we have our own LinkedIn group that we encourage you to join. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook. We have a phenomenal blog with blog stories. And there is our Career Center website, careercenter.waldenu.edu, and on that page, within a week or so, you will find this webinar archived along with the slides. And finally, we want to leave you this webinar with a very inspiring quote: "Where your talents and the needs of the world cross, there lies your purpose." And thank you all very much for participating.